Rasulillah. Jazakumullah khairan for coming, everyone. Just to let you know where my better half is not here right now, because we were in Philadelphia this past weekend doing a marriage seminar, and she lost her voice completely. So halfway through the marriage seminar, she was just whispering to me the entire time in Philadelphia. So she's still recovering her voice, alhamdulillah, but she'll be back next week, inshallah. So we left off with Surah Al-Asr. We had started the surah. Let's go ahead and I will recite it, and you guys can recite back, and we'll do the translation of the surah so we can start the idea over again, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. The way I try to recite it for you is try to give you the interpretation of the meaning as we're reciting it. So if I was to say, for example, the statement, I am done, right? The way you say it, you convey completely different meanings. If I say, I'm done, what does that convey? Excitement, happiness that I finished something. If I say, I'm done, what does that convey? That you're fed up with something, it's over. I'm done with something, I'm fed up with something. If you say, oh, I'm done, like you're like kind of, it's like, oh no, you didn't want it to finish, right? I'm done versus I'm done versus oh, I'm done, right? So when you're reading, you can just read wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa salihati. You can read that, or you can read it according to the meaning. So let me give you the translation, and we're going to read it again, trying to understand it, trying to interpret it with our voices. We're saying wal asr. Allah is swearing by time. Why is He swearing by time? To make us understand a very important concept. That is that innal insana lafi khusrin. By time, undoubtedly, man is drowning in loss. So when you say these two verses, you're not saying it in a happy tone, you're saying something very serious. It's to give man a warning. So you would read, one way of possibly reading it is, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Try it, have a serious tone to it. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Now the exception is made. Allah says everyone is drowning in loss except who? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Everyone's drowning in loss except those who believe. And we'll go into depth about this. But those who believe, those who do good deeds, those who call one another or advise one another to to truth, and those who advise one another to patience. So it's like everyone's going down except the ones who do this. These are the redeeming qualities. So again, the recitation was, I'll give you a running translation, or if you want to follow along, I'll give you the translation and I'll follow along with the mouse if you want to see it over here. So I'm going to read the Arabic, and I want you to pay attention to the meaning. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So it wasn't just one idea all the way through. It was, here's the negative and here's the positive, and trying to read it according to that. So now let's read the positive portion, the how to get ourselves out of this loss. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Go ahead. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. When I see you guys reading this and you're not smiling and happy, it's showing that you're not conveying that emotion most likely. If you're reading, you have to be able to convey that emotion, you have to be able to read it. If you've ever seen a reciter who knows what they're reading, their facial expression is changing and they're reading it according to the meaning, opposed to just reading it according to the tajweed rules alone. This is the rules I have to follow. Yes, the rules are there, but the next step is, what am I reading? Right? If you're reading something, you're like, the boy had the best day of his life. That doesn't seem like a very good day. The boy had the best day of his life, right? When it comes to anybody who's reading, you enjoy someone's recitation or reading of anything when they're doing it according to the emotion, what's being felt there. So inshallah, we'll revisit this once we go into more depth of what we were reading. So again, the translation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by time, undoubtedly man is in loss except for. And another translation of this is not just man is in loss, every single individual human being. That's more appropriate of the word that's being used over here. Every individual person, the individual is being highlighted over here, and we'll talk about why, is in drowning in loss except those who believe, those who do good actions, and those who advise one another to the truth and advise one another to patience. So we left off talking about this prescription for success, right? We had these 4 qualities, 4 statements that were being made. Now here's a question for you guys. This is not going to be a discussion question, but just to think about. Are these 4 things a package deal, or can we say, you know what, if we have belief, we can, you don't have to really necessarily follow it up with good deeds and be advising one another. It's like if you have one of these, you'll be good. Or is the language saying something else? Is the language saying, no, it's like all 4 or bust? What do you guys think? Read the last verse, right? The last verse is, except those who believed and did good deeds and advised each other the truth. What do you guys think? All of them? It's a package deal? What word in the English language tells you it's a package deal? And, right? The word and. It's except those who did this and did this and did this. That's any kind of conditional statement, right? If I say everyone's failing except for those who did 1, 2, and 3. It's not those who did 1 or 2 or 3. Even in the Arabic language, it doesn't say those who believed or did good deeds or advised to the truth or to patience. It's did this and this and this. So the bare minimum for our salvation and for others' salvation, for us, the bare minimum to not be in loss, the bare minimum that Allah is saying not to be in loss are these 4 qualities. So when it comes to when it comes to students who, you tell them for you to pass this class, you have to do 1, 2, and 3. And they're like, wait, what was it exactly? What do I do exactly to pass? Tell me what I have to do just to be able to pass this class. And then there are students who say, okay, so this is the curriculum. What can I do to get a higher GPA? What's the extra credit stuff I'm doing? Right now, Allah's not talking about the extra credit portion. He's talking about this is the bare minimum for you to get out of the semester. For you to make it out of dunya, this is the bare minimum any Muslim has to maintain. Belief, action, and surprise. This is the hardest part. Advising other people as well to the truth. Advising each other to patience, which is in our day and age, it's like, whoa, I don't want to step out of my bounds and talk to anybody else about their life and their issues. Well, it's kind of a package deal. As Muslims, we have to be looking out for one another. It's not just his Islam is his Islam and her Islam is her Islam. No, we have to be able to go up to one another out of love and sincerity and care and say, look, because I care for you, I wanted to speak to you about something. And that conversation can go many angles. I'm sure we've experienced times when we've said something and we're like, oh, they weren't having it at all. They didn't want to be corrected, or they didn't want to be. But we have to ask ourselves, did we try to correct someone in the best way possible? The way that we would want to be corrected. If someone was going to pull us aside, is that the way, the golden rule, right? Do as you want done to yourself. So we'll go back to this, but the 4 main qualities that are being asked for is belief, followed up with action, followed up by advising each other to the truth and advising each other to patience. So that was the prescription for success, for a successful life in this life. Now let's actually go into the passage itself. The very first ayah that's here is wal asr. Allah is swearing by time. A rewording of this would be Allah is saying, I swear by time. Now you're asking yourself the question now, why is Allah swearing by time? And when I taught this to like younger kids, they're like, oh, swearing. No, swearing meaning oath, not cursing. Not cursing, swearing like taking an oath by time. He's saying by time, like you know how people might say like, I swear on my mother's grave. As Muslims, we don't swear on anything except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you know that statement, I swear on my mother's grave, and the guy's mom is still alive or something, I don't know. It's like, I swear on something, right? I swear on the good book or whatever. You've heard these phrases before in movies or TV shows. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also takes an oath. He swears by creation. He swears by different things. Now, why does he do this? You guys tell me. What do you guys think? Why do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by anything? Or even if you want to be even more general, why does anyone swear by anything? Why does anyone swear by anything? What's the point of swearing or taking an oath by anything? This is something I want you guys to take. This will be a 2-minute reflection thing. Just get your ideas out to one another. For those who are here for the very first day, what you want to do is get in a group of 3 or 4, and you're going to be discussing why would someone take an oath. Okay, once you figure that out, why is Allah taking an oath in the Quran? Why is it something, and by the way, it's very common in the Quran. Allah swears by the night, the day, swears by the Prophet ﷺ, swears by the stars, swears by all kinds of things. So go ahead and partner up, group up. If you're meeting each other for the first time, say salam, introduce yourself. And the question is again, why would someone swear? That's number 1. Number 2 is, why specifically do you think Allah swears in the Quran? Why is He taking oaths? Bismillah, go ahead. Try to get in 3s and 4s maximum. That's 3 here. You guys want to go 1 over here and join them, inshallah? Emphasize importance. Good, good.
Like to show like how
what do you guys think? Anything else? Anything another reason? Emphasis. Emphasis. With tawheed. I think it does. So, good. So one is that you want to give more emphasis to what you're saying. The other one is that someone has a إزالة الشهوة يستخدم الحق إن كذلك لإزالة الشهوة وأن شدع فقال إنه رسول الله. Okay, Bismillah, let's hear your idea so far. Let's hear your idea so far. Sister side, go ahead. Loud and proud. For emphasis. Very good. You want to emphasize what you're saying. You want to make it much more powerful. Brother side, what do you guys think? One of you guys want to share? One thing the sister said is to put emphasis. Actually, can you give like a language example, like in English? Like how would you explain that in English? You have one? Go for it.
like if a mom is mad at the child, she's like, I swear, Billy, if you do that one more time, like, it's that emphasis.
Nice. I swear, Billy, if you do that, good. I would actually, I'm going to come back to that. It's a very good example. Okay, good. What did you guys have? Something you want to share?
One of the things I was thinking is, I guess inherently human being is thought to be not trustworthy.
Okay.
Maybe like starting with Adam or so on. Allah told him not to do something, but he still ended up doing it. So to put some emphasis on this thing that person who, like humankind has trust issues, so Allah wanted to put some emphasis on something that he wants this person who has trust issues to believe in. Because if you say a plain sentence, this person is not doing because they have already some issues.
Okay, good. So I would maybe rephrase it. Instead of trust issues, maybe we can call it that we know that human beings are susceptible to falling. They're going to make mistakes. From Adam alayhi salam all the way to every single one of us, we're going to make mistakes. So the emphasis idea being put there that if it was said, human beings are in loss, versus I swear by time, undoubtedly humans are all individually in loss. That's like, okay, I get it. No one's playing around over here. This is the emphasis that's being highlighted. There was, you want to put the idea, brother?
So you swear, after the Quran, you swear by time. Judgment day, and there's no doubt about it. It's like Allah will swear about the time.
Remove
The end of the time, like the Yom Qiyamah.
no.
So the people, they will not, there's no shak.
There's no shak. So it's removal of doubt. Do you see how emphasis versus removal of doubt is a different thing? For example, if I said, Muhammad Rasulullah, Muhammad's the messenger of Allah. Someone's like, Muhammad? La, la. I said, Inna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Undoubtedly, Muhammad's the messenger of Allah. They said, get out of here. I say, Wallahi, I swear by Allah. Inna Muhammadan la Rasulullah. I promise to you, I swear by God, He is the messenger. Like, you wouldn't do that right off the bat, right? You wouldn't be like, I swear to God, Halal Guys has a sale. Like Halal Guys has like a discount going on. You're not going to start off with that. You're not going to, I swear to God, undoubtedly, like it's only when you're not being believed. That's when you put it there, right? Very good. What else? There's one thing, you actually mentioned it through your example. Anybody else have anything different? The reasons for swearing? So your example with Billy and Billy's mom was perfect because it's also when you're angry, right? Think of her example. Someone's like, I'm not going to do my homework. I'm like, Billy, I swear to God, if you don't do your homework, you see what will happen. I swear, just wait till I come over there. Even though it could be no physical harm is going to be done, just when you're not being believed and you just want to show anger, I swear, you do it one more time. How many times have you heard that from like a sibling or something? Like with a nice softy sibling or a parent, I swear you do it one more time and you're like, come on mom, not gonna do anything to me, not gonna hurt me or anything. Like it's like when the person's angry, they'll start swearing. Now the bigger question is, why does Allah swear in the Quran? Anyone get to that? What do y'all think? I gave you the human reasons, right? I gave you for more emphasis, or you guys gave me rather, more emphasis, removal of doubt, anger. That's actually the 3 reasons why someone swears in the Arabic language, by the way. And you guys derived that yourselves through your examples and from all that. MashaAllah. So the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears can be for all of these reasons, plus one more. One thing which is specific to the Quran. And that is to bring whatever is being testified, or whatever is being whatever's trying to be conveyed, it's to bring what's being sworn by as a kind of like you would say a witness, or as a proof for something. So for example, what was the statement that Allah's trying to convey? That what? Man is in loss. What better proof than time itself? Do you guys understand that? What better proof is there than to bring time itself as the witness? To say, time is here. Imagine if we personified time, Father Time, right? They always say Father Time. Nobody can beat Father Time. Father Time is undefeated against any person who ever had any kind of wealth or status, civilizations. Father Time has taken every one of them out. Now imagine if time was personified and brought in the day of judgment and asked, how did man do? Innal insana lafi khusr. Every single human being was in loss, except those who did this, this, and this. And time is being brought as a witness, personified. And that's one of the ideas over here, that Allah is saying that, look, you don't have to look too far. Look at your day. Look at the way your time goes by. It's running out. Nobody can doubt that they're in loss. They can doubt the fact that there is a creator, the fact that they will be raised up. No one can doubt that they're constantly in loss of time. Time is flying by. As the moments go by, each breath goes by, each morning and evening, by time you're realizing that I am in loss. I accept that fact. Okay, so there's actually one more reason actually that was specific to the Arabs why they would swear. It was to get people's attention, which I guess you say isn't too different from modern day Arabic language use as well. Because people, when they speak Arabic, they'll say wallahi a lot, right? They're not actually swearing by Allah, but they're saying wallahi to give more emphasis to their speech. But what they used to do in the time of the Prophet ﷺ is they would, if there was like a war about to break out or the enemy was on the front line, to get people's attention, they would literally come yelling out and they would say, wa sabaha, wa sabaha. I swear by the morning, I swear by the morning, everybody gather together. Everybody gather together. And they would gather together and they would say, there's armies getting ready to attack. You know, you guys might not have this here, but now we have our phones and it gives us like, tornado warning. You know what they used to do before, right? There used to be sirens set up all over the city. When you didn't have these, your network sending you those messages, they would have that really annoying blaring sound. And then you would just hear that going off. And you're like, oh my God, it's a possible tornado warning, right? Versus now your phone starts going crazy and starts beeping and all that stuff. The same way they didn't have, even that sound. They would just start screaming and yelling with their voices and say, I swear by the morning, and everyone, as soon as they hear that, they know that, okay, this is serious business. Let's go. So now, what were the reasons we said? When someone's angry, when someone is not being believed, to remove doubt, to emphasize, to get someone's attention, to bring the actual thing that's being sworn by as a witness. So now if you take into consideration what that means, let's look at the translation again. Allah is saying, I swear by time out of anger because human beings are in loss. You understand that? Wal asr, he's not being believed. That human beings are in loss, Allah is saying, Wal asr, I swear by time, innal insana lafi khusr. And by the way, this word right here, inna, this word inna is used in the Arabic language when someone's already in doubt and you have to remove doubt from their mind. So the example I gave you before, I said, I swear by God, I swear to God, there is no doubt that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. That's what's happening over here. Allah is saying, I swear by time, there's absolutely no doubt that every single human being is drowning in loss. That's the statement that's being put over here. And all of those reasons apply. Not being believed, because possibly the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may Allah protect us from that. To be able to catch someone's attention, to bring time as a witness itself. So I gave you these meanings of why the Arabs swear, and specifically, what's specific to the Quran out of all of these is that bringing something as a witness itself. Bringing something as a witness to testify regarding the point you're trying to make. So Allah's bringing time and saying, this is the proof for this next statement. The proof that you're in loss is time itself. And one really good example that I believe Imam al-Razi mentions, he says that he saw the tafsir, the explanation of this loss being manifest when he went out into the streets, into the markets, and he saw something called, wait for it, an ice salesman. Again, there were people that used to sell ice, exactly right. People's faces are like, what? My fridge does that. Like there's no need for ice salesmen because it didn't happen. But think about this, there was a time when there was no refrigeration, there's no ice cube trays being made in every single household. Forget about, nobody even has ice cube trays anymore. You have a fridge or a freezer that gives you water and gets you ice cube, right? But he said that he would go out and he would see this ice salesman. Now imagine this guy has massive block of ice and he has to break the ice off and he's selling it. What is the most attractive portion of his sale? What is he selling? Ice. If time goes by, that ice becomes what exactly? Water. Can the ice salesman, who's supposed to be the ice salesman, show up and be like, sorry guys, the ice ran out, but I got some cold water. Anybody want some cold water? No. His product has become useless now. So he walks out And he says he saw the man saying, have mercy on the man whose prophet is melting away. Come and buy my ice right now. Fresh ice, come and buy my ice because you need to have mercy on the man whose prophet is melting away. Imagine anybody else who's selling something, their clothing or whatever is not going to go bad. Maybe someone who's selling some fruit or some fish, again, they have some urgency. But the most urgent salesman, the one who has the most sense of urgency, is that ice salesman. He's saying, my profit, my livelihood, it is melting away. Have mercy on me. And Imam al-Razi said, the tafsir of Surah Al-Asr was right in front of my face. Every single human being is like this ice salesman. Except we don't have the ice, we have what? The minutes on the clock. We don't see our ice melting. But every single second that goes by, every single moment that we're here right now, our ice is melting away more and more and more. Now, the problem is, one, we don't see our ice. Two, we have no idea how big our ice block is. We have no idea. Right now, some of us in this room or whoever is listening to this, we might have this massive iceberg worth of life left in us, time left in us, and it's melting and it's melting and it's melting, and mashallah, you get to 120 years of age. Who knows? Maybe you beat the record, you're in your 130s, 40s, whatever it gets to. Who knows? Allahu Alam. Allah knows best, right? And it could be some of us sitting here right now, literally have like a little ice cube left. And we're thinking along the lines of this iceberg, and we have all these hopes and dreams and ambitions. And we're like, yep, I'm going to do this and this and this and this, but we really don't know. It could be any day. And that's the struggle of life, of this knowledge. That ice salesman, at least he knew, this is melting away, let me make an effort, right? I know this is melting away, so let me make an effort. With us, we don't know how fast it's melting, and we don't know how much we have left. So all we really know is it is diminishing. So the question is, will we make that effort? Now that we know the ice is running out. Now that we know that we're going to be meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regardless how far away it is. And we have no idea how far our meeting is. It could be tomorrow, it could be a year from now, it could be 20 years from now, we have no idea. But the question is, will we be smart as that ice salesman and up his sales pitch, right? Will we be smart enough to say, wait a minute, my time is running out. I gotta figure things out. I gotta start putting in the work, not tomorrow, but today. I gotta start working, starting this moment, and put the plan in place. So, now talking a little bit about time, let's go into that and we'll open up the second discussion question. When you think about time, how would you explain that concept to a young child? That's what I always try to simplify it down to that. If a child, I'm talking about like a first grader or a kindergartner asked you, what's time? I don't want you to go, well, according to Einstein, and no, you've already lost them. How do you explain time to the simplest idea possible? I want you guys to go ahead and just think for a second. If you're brave enough, think about how you would explain it to a nephew or a niece or someone young that you know in your life. Someone's like, what's time? And they know what a clock is, but the concept of time. Don't just say it's on the clock, because that's not the concept of time. You want to explain the concept of time. It's hard to figure out, but anyone ever want to take a shot? How would you explain it to a youngin? And remember, this is like Snapchat size explanation. It has to be quick enough that concise, Snapchat worthy, easy to understand. Yes?
I can tell a child, I can give you 5 seconds if you do this, I will give you ice cream. And if it doesn't,
Good. So you're giving a practical example of what time looks like for them and time passing by. From that example, they might be like, oh, 5 seconds isn't enough time. Time's running out. They might learn from it that time runs really quickly and you can get maybe a lot done or very little bit done in a certain amount of time. Very good. So that's like a practical snippet of it. Anybody want to take like the shot of explaining the entire concept of time, which is hard to explain? Or anybody have any other examples? Go for it. Bismillah. Sister side?
It's like the only thing that you can't get more out of. Like it's the
Oh.
only thing that exists that I can think of that
That's nice.
can be replenished. Or like, that's a big word for a refrigerator. But like it can be, you know what I mean? Like you're always running. It's what you said. You're always running out of it. Like
Good.
make it or
You can't get more of it. So replenish, like once you run out of it, you can't get more of it. And they're like ice cream? like dessert and stuff? Good, like that example is beautiful. It's the only thing that you actually have, that you possess, that once it's gone, you can't get more of it. Beautiful explanation, beautiful explanation. And we'll go back to that, because someone might say, wait a minute, what about other things? We'll argue this back and forth. That's a beautiful point. This is my kind of take on it. It's maybe long-winded like I am, but I'll go ahead and try my best to explain it. My explanation of it is that, you know how everything starts and it ends, like school starts and it ends, right? Time means the start of something and the end of something. And time is something that God actually made. Before Allah made this concept, there was no such thing as time. Because Allah has no beginning and no end. So when we even ask that question, who made Allah? Who started Allah? How did Allah begin? The word begin can't even be put with Allah, because there's no such thing as beginning and end until Allah creates something of beginning and end. Because He's not bound by time. Time is something He made. So by definition, everything outside of Allah has a beginning and an end. You and I, beginning and end. The smallest little cell that we have has a beginning and end. To the largest creation you can think of, to the universe, the galaxies, whatever it may be, that also has a beginning. There's a birth to universes and stars and planets, and there's an end, there's a death to them as well. So how I would explain it is that time is this incredible concept that Allah created. By making the angels, something starts and they will have an end. By making mankind, they will have a birth and they will have a death by definition. And the only thing that's eternal is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But guess what? We share a part of eternity and being eternal in the fact that once we were created, we will be in eternity. So once we have a start, we technically are not going to have an end. There's no end to us. There's an end to this life, but we also will get to be eternal. But our eternalness is different because we had a beginning. Allah had no beginning. There's no such thing as life and death when it was God by Himself. When He creates creation for the first time, now something has been made or created that has a moment of creation, birth, and death. And again, these might not apply to every single thing exactly with this terminology. We don't say that angels were born and they die, but there's a beginning to them and there will be an end to them. And then they will be eternal. Now that might be very tough for, I would take, obviously if I'm in front of a 6-year-old, I would use certain parts of that logic and not all of that. For you, I gave you all of this. Now, what's also beautiful is if you think about how we see time, it's the manifestation of seconds becoming minutes, becoming hours, becoming days, becoming the sun comes up and it goes down, night passes, becomes weeks, becomes months, becomes years, becomes lifetimes, decades, and so on and so on and so on. That's what we see as time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by something that is so incredible, that spans from the smallest unit of measure till the largest unit you can even think of. This is what Allah is swearing by. He's saying, I swear by this. I swear by time. This creation that I made, that every single thing is bound to except me. Why? Because He's the creator. The creator is not bound by something He created. That's like saying, oh, the person who made iOS is now bound to and stuck inside of iOS. What are you saying? This is not the Matrix. He's not stuck inside of His creation that He made, right? Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created time. So when someone asks the question, what was before Allah? You can't even use the word before with Allah. Because before is a construct made by something that has time. There has to be a timeline. There's no timeline when it comes to Allah. He always was, He always will be, and He always is, and He always will be. With us, it's like there was a time when we were nothing. We were not in creation, which is, obviously this is something I wouldn't even say to a 5-year-old. That would, it's like, what? There was a time when I wasn't something? What? It's like very complex, but hopefully the idea is coming through. Now, time points towards a lot of different things. We have, the first thing we can think about is His creation. All of creation by definition is bound by time. There's not a single creation that's not bound by it. Something else that it points towards is His might. That He has put a system in place that our entire lives revolved around it. Our entire lives revolved around this system called time. When you want to do anything, you have to take time into consideration. How long did it take you to get from kindergarten to 12th grade? It took you 12, 13 years. The time that you spent getting your degree was 4 years. The time it takes you to get dressed and get ready for work, everything is based on time. Everything that you do, your job starts at a certain time, ends at a certain time. The time you spend with your family, it's either quality time or it's like, just some kind of other time. So there's not just the number of time, there's the level of quality and what's being used in that time as well. So I've said the word time a whole bunch of times, and we've lost focus of what the word even means now. We're just saying the word time over and over again. I'm not talking about the seasoning anymore. I'm talking about the actual concept, time. So now also what the last thing I want to indicate towards is that this word time also indicates towards His wisdom. That only as time goes on and progresses, months, years, do we truly get to understand the wisdom behind certain things that we might not have understood. And the reasoning why is like this. One beautiful example that I've seen scholars mention is, imagine now, picture a book, and you know that on this book there's ink, they print the books and they have ink all over this book, but we know this ink represents letters, which make up words, which make up sentences, which make up thoughts and ideas and paragraphs in the entire book. But imagine now an ant is going over that book. When an ant travels on this book, what does an ant see when it's on top of this blackness? What does it see? What does it see as it's passing over these letters? Does it see the words? Does it understand and comprehend the words? It doesn't. Because when that ant is sitting on that letter, maybe like a period even, right? It's a small, tiny little ant, and it's walking over it, all it sees is darkness and black. But whereas us who have more intellect, who are much larger in size, much greater in terms of knowledge and rationale, when we look at the ant, we say, oh look, that ant is on that period. The ant is like, it's nighttime. The ant is like, it's nighttime now, what happened? Where'd all the lights go, right? And you know it's not nighttime, you know it's not darkness. You see that this is the end, you know that period represents more than a dot. You know this period represents the end of an entire thought. And this ant, all it sees is darkness. Now, imagine it goes to another letter, and that ant's like, oh, what kind of weird, jaggedy letter is this? And you know, this ant is on a letter, which is part of a word, which is making up an entire idea and a thought. But the problem is the ant won't understand this. Even if you tell the ant, by the way, ant, you're on the word the right now, and the sentence says this entire thing. The ant's not understanding what you're saying. Unless you're Sulaiman alayhi salam and you're communicating with the ants, that's a different story. But you're not going to be able to communicate with this ant and tell him what's going on. Now, try to imagine us as the ant. When we go through our situations in life, we go through them and we're like, oh my God, what just happened? My world just turned upside down. I am in total darkness and chaos, and I don't know what to do. Now, we were just in that period. And we're like, oh my God, what's happening? But yeah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking at this from His all-knowing perspective, us, when we give this example, we're not all-knowing. We just see what's on the page. Allah knows what's on the previous pages, on the future pages. He knows what variations could have been made in the book. He wrote the book. He knows exactly what's going on. So when He looks at it, He could be saying to us, just wait a little bit more. Just give it a day or two and you'll be out of this difficulty. Just wait 1 week and I have something even better for you in store. You're saying, I just lost my job, I'm in a financial mess, I have no idea what to do. And this door has been slammed shut. You don't know, 2 weeks from now, a month from now, 15 doors are opening up and they're going to be even better than the opportunity you already had. Now that requires a lot of trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That requires a lot of making dua and saying, Ya Allah, I know whatever you've written for me, it's going to be the best for me. Because as Muslims, we don't believe Allah does anything except there is betterment either in this dunya or the akhirah, in the next life. It takes a mountain of trust in Allah to be able to do that. So when we're in that moment of darkness and we're saying, all I see is darkness around me, remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the entire picture in front of Him. Has the entire picture in front of Him. And He knows what is in our best interest for this life and the next life. Another example I want to give you before you guys break out into the session is, imagine if, again, an ant, or rather an ant, let's go, have you guys ever seen, I forgot what it's called, maybe Zubair, you know, it's called like a megapan picture, or there's megapixels, and there was one picture that was taken that was like the most megapixels ever with the most megapixels ever in a camera. And it's like this mountain range. And they also did this with the presidential, I think sometime during Obama's term, they also took a picture of that. And it's like you can zoom in to insane amounts. And now imagine if we zoomed all the way into this picture and all you see is white. And you're like, I don't get it. What am I looking at? All I see is white. But the photographer who took the picture, they have the entire picture. They don't have the 1 megapixel. They don't have 1 pixel. They have the entire picture, and they're like, what are you talking about? It's a mountain range. And it's just one piece of white still that you're looking at. And he's like, but you're doing this. You're like, I don't see it. I don't see it. Like, what are you saying? Another person's like, it's right there. Another person's like, I don't see what you're talking about. You understand that? When it comes to us in this life, we're right here. Because when we're in our situations, when we're dealing with relationship issues, when we're dealing with financial issues and health issues, think about our emotions even, right? We get so emotionally invested in something. When you ask somebody else for advice, you're like, oh, that's simple. Just do this. And you're like, oh, yeah, why didn't I think of that? Because just by definition, as human beings, our emotions will get the best of us. We'll be so wrapped up into that situation, we're just looking at it with blinders on. And that's why, you know, the ayah that mentions you advise one another to truth and patience is very key over here. Because when we're looking like this, we need someone to be like, yo, back up a bit. Oh, that's what you were saying. I understand now. I understand what you're trying to say to me. Because someone could be like this, but you need someone to be able to tell you, look, you're looking at it the wrong way. Look at it like this. And you're like, oh, okay, I had the picture upside down. So advising one another and being there for one another is crucial. Having people in your life that can be there for you. Now the question I want to ask you guys is, where is that question? Okay, can you think an incident in your life where only after the passage of time you were able to see Allah's wisdom in it? Only after the passage of time. So when something happened, you were like, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand why this is happening. I'm not sure what the wisdom is, what the benefit of this is. But only as time went on, you were like, oh, that's what Allah was doing. I didn't see that happening. I didn't see that playing out that way. Could be something simple as, you know, the simplest thing possible. It could be a huge moment in your life, whatever it is, whatever you're comfortable sharing. And I want you guys to share out loud afterwards as well, too. So bismillah, go ahead, break into the groups. The question again, an incident in your life where you didn't understand the wisdom of it until basically time passed. A week passed, month passed, years passed, and then you're like, oh, that's why Allah did this. Or not to say that is exactly why He did it, but this is one of the reasons why He possibly did it. The wisdom behind it, possibly. Okay, bismillah. Go ahead, guys.
It's a hard question.
And this is the system. I was just really mad at the situation. I really didn't know what to do. I just wanted to move out. I just wanted to get out. So at the end of the day, I didn't want to travel for a weekend, get out of the country. So I came back. I went to Mexico. This got cleared up to me. The issue wasn't him. It was me. So it's like,
so it's like him and blaming him. That's not
turned out the issue was that I had I was sure about it. He was big. At least the ones that have. Yeah. So it's clear that actually my response to the condition is with it.
Yes. Anything shareable you want to discuss?
I'm just
I think okay. You guys want 100 more minutes? You good?
Okay, Bismillah. What do you guys think? Who would like to share? Want to share?
Sure.
Okay, Bismillah, go ahead. Nice and loud.
So I was already part of this engineering program in the college that I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
And I was also an athlete at that time. And one of my coaches told me that you should try just different universities that actually have a sports scholarship there if you get selected to the team.
Yeah.
So I just for that purpose I went ahead and did my tryouts and everything, and then I got accepted to the team. So then I had to get accepted in the college as well, and that's what I did. And that college turned out to be University of Michigan, which is way better than the original college that I was going to.
Yeah.
I didn't have this information at that time. So my pure purpose was to go get a scholarship for sports.
Yeah.
And I ended up being at one of the best engineering colleges in America. And up until now, it's paying off.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. The doors. Shukran. Jazakallah khairan for sharing. Sister side? Nobody?
I'll give it a no.
Go for it.
Years ago when I was younger, before I started grad school, I wanted to marry somebody and I was very adamant about it. My family said no. At that time I was very bitter for quite a while. And I look back today at where he is in life and where I am, and 100% sure if we got married we would be divorced today.
SubhanAllah. Thank you guys for sharing this personal stuff, because it's not easy to share this kind of stuff. That's incredible. To be able to look back at that and be able to say, okay, Allah had my best interests. It was definitely the best interest in mind. Alhamdulillah. What do you guys think? Anything else? Yes?
Last year, and at that time I was so devastated, and I couldn't see anything but that, and it was just like this misery, that I thought would never end. It seemed impossible. And after a year, I can look back and see the wisdom of what happened and how it's actually inside of me.
SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah.
It made my faith in God even stronger.
SubhanAllah.
Allah gave me a reason to trust Him.
Allahu Akbar. SubhanAllah. That's beautiful. You know, one of the wisdoms we can say behind going through difficulty is think about how many people remember Allah when it's good times versus when you're like down and out and you're like nobody else can help me. The one and only, the one who's going to do anything in the first place is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and cause change. And when we're in that situation and we're like, yep, this is exactly what Allah's preparing me for. Only, not even person, being that can help me is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something, if you think about the Prophet ﷺ's life, imagine, take a scenario and put it on anybody else. You're born and your father's already passed away, and you live with somebody else for a while, when you live with your mother for a few years, she passes away as well. You're a young child. Now you're around 8 years old and you're living with your grandfather and he passes away. By age of 8, you didn't have a father, you lost your mother, your grandfather passed away. You're just like, you would assume as a young child, like, I'm the problem. Everywhere I go, people end up passing away or dying. Anybody who loses those pillars in their lives, like, they're not the same as regular functioning adults. They'll have so many insecurity issues and these kind of problems. But rather, if we flip the script and understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching the Prophet ﷺ a huge lesson, that even when it comes to your own mother and your father and those people who you expect to be your pillars in this life, every single human being, when it comes to even us, they are temporary at the end of the day. Even it's so hard to think about that. Even our parents, our spouses, our kids, even they are temporary. Even the ones that want the best for us in our lives, guess what? They have a limitation on how much they can help us in this world. You might have heartache in your life and financial issues and they can't help you. You might have health problems and they can't help you. They would go to the moon and back and try to do anything they can for you, but there's certain times when they can't do it. And guess what? That's why as Muslims we know the last stop isn't Allah. The first stop is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The last stop is not, nobody else can help me, now let me ask Allah. No. That's why we say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينَ. You alone we worship and you alone we ask for help, over and over and over and over again every single day, to remind ourselves. Even though we have all these people here to help us out and we want good for one another, if we're not asking Allah first and foremost, we're not taking the greatest means that we have. We're not utilizing the greatest means that we have, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll share, if anybody else wants to share, go for it, or else I'm going to share mine. And okay, so I'm going to share mine. So I was working at Bayyina for the past 2 years, and I went through so many health issues during my last year over there that I would wake up, I would teach, I would go home, and I would just probably like lie in bed for like the entire day until the day ran out, and I was like just praying and just get back in bed. And the only thing keeping me going was the fact that I was teaching my students and I loved it. And I was like, yes, okay. But I was going through a number of health issues, going to doctor after doctor after doctor, specialist after specialist, and they're like, I'm not sure what's going on, test after test after test. Finally, at the end of the entire time, near the summertime, I went and they said, why don't you get an MRI done, a scan of your body and everything. They did the scan, and it ended up that they were saying that there's a growth that looks like there's a tumor inside your spinal cord. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess now at least we know what's causing all the health issues. Let's see what can be done to fix it. Now, at the end of the work year, or the academic year, I didn't know if I was going to be even able to work after this. I was like, I don't know if I can. I need to kind of focus on my health. And my lease had ended, my contract had ended. I didn't know if I could even work, so I was out of a job. Financially, I was like, not sure what to do. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my health situation, because they're just saying this is what's there. They're not saying what's going to fix it, and they have no idea if it's going to be fixed. So I was in Dallas, obviously, that's where Bayyina is, and then I came over here. My lease was over, we had packed up the house, everything was in storage, and we just came over here. And I remember that I think it was the first night I arrived over here. Nobody knew I was in Houston except my close relatives and family members. And all of a sudden they get a call from Imam Tawqir, who is the Imam of Maryam Masjid, and he gives me a call and he says, hey, I'm interested in going and studying at the university you guys went to, me and Safiya, the International Islamic University of Malaysia, and doing some more studies over there. And I said, oh, cool, yeah. So we're talking, and I'm telling him about the university. And he says, by the way, I won't be able to go unless I find a replacement imam. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Well, I never thought I'd be back in Houston. Never thought I'd be back with working for ISGH, nor being at Maryam Masjid. And I'm like, well, that's really interesting because I just left Dallas. Let me think about it. Let me consider it. And this door opened. It's like literally 5 doors closed. I was pushed to Houston. where I grew up, and all of a sudden this door just opened up and I'm like, oh, an opportunity, which I didn't even seek out. I didn't seek out employment, I didn't seek out anything, and people are coming to me. And then it ended up that instead of being in Dallas, we ended up at MD Anderson, the best, like one of the top cancer hospitals in the world in treatment, and they didn't know if it was cancer or what it was. And we ended up going to one of the top physicians or the neurosurgeons in the country, and I remember just the amount of stress I had leading up to the surgery. And I remember that the night before, I just messaged all my students from Dream, and I said, keep me in your du'as. And I was kind of a little bit hopeless at the surgery because the first time the doctor ever saw the MRI, he said, whoa. And I was like, okay, then this is not a really good sign. He said, this surgeon's been performing surgeries for 20 years. And he said that out of 20 years of doing these surgeries, twice a week now, he's been doing this for 20 years, for twice a week, multiple surgeries a day. He said, I've never seen a growth like this. And I was like, this is the one time where being different isn't really the best thing for you right now. Being unique isn't the greatest thing over here. But alhamdulillah, let's see what happens. He says, the best case scenario is I go in there and it's not as bad as it looks, and it's not as crazy as it looks, and I can just kind of scalpel it this way, and just take it out and we're good to go. But he said, realistically, what's going to happen is I'm going to go in there, probably take a little bit of it, try to make sure I don't mess with your nerves and damage anything, and I'll just take a little bit of it, and we'll have to put it under a microscope and see what happens. And I was like, oh, that's the most realistic scenario. And I was so bummed out before the surgery until I messaged all my students and all this happened, and one of them sent the most real text message I ever got in my life. WhatsApp message. He said, Ustad, meaning teacher, it doesn't matter if you have the best surgeons and the medical treatment plan and the hospital and equipment in the world. If it wasn't meant to be, and there wasn't meant to be something positive coming out of it, it had already been written. There would be some difficulty already written for you. And then he said, it didn't matter if you were with the worst surgeons on the planet, and they had the worst treatment plan possible. But if Allah had written that you would come out of it A-okay, that would happen. And I was like, man, that first part is really depressing and a really hit to your system. But he's like, I was like, yeah, he's right. Now, either I can go in thinking that I can be pessimistic and say it's not going to happen, or I can say, wait a minute. We're talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He can do anything He wants. And I literally remember, moments before the surgery, I prayed Fajr, I'm feet away from being rolled out, and I was just like, I gotta change my mentality. And I went in with what my students said, and I said, Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allah is capable of doing anything He wants. And if I'm going in, guess what? I do have the best surgeons. I do have the best treatment plan because I'm at MD Anderson. Now, just put my trust in Allah, and instead of going in negative and thinking of a negative outcome, I'm going to go in positive. But that required a lot of, obviously, it required being able to trust Allah, but at the same time, being vulnerable enough to tell my students, I need you guys. Even though I'm the Islamic teacher, guess what? I'm in a place where I need somebody else's support. I need somebody else to tell me, it'll be okay, you'll be okay. And I'm telling you, the entire week leading up, I was nervous. I was talking to my wife, I was talking to my parents, I was making dua. But when that student, after I told him I need y'all's prayers, when he messaged me, I was like, yep, that gave me the light switch. And you have no idea. So being vulnerable is not something that it's like, oh, look at them being vulnerable. No, absolutely not. This is part of the surah. To be able to advise one another, we have to be vulnerable. We have to be able to say, hey, I know I'm going to mess up. I know I'm going to be in emotional ruts. I'm going to be in financial difficulties. I need somebody else to be there, to either physically help me out, or just to be there to be a shoulder to lean on and cry on, or just to be able to say something to uplift me. So, let me give you the conclusion of the story. This happened. I don't know this happened. They gave me such strong drugs. I had no idea this even happened. He said he woke me up and he's like, Mr. Kamar, there wasn't a tumor. It wasn't a tumor. And apparently this happened. I didn't even remember meeting him until like like a day after the surgery. And my mom came in, and that's the first thing I remember, because my mom came in and she's saying to me in Urdu, it wasn't a tumor, it wasn't a tumor. And I was like, why did they open me up then? Like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Like, what do you mean it wasn't a tumor? And she says it wasn't a tumor. It ended up being, get this, anyone who's studied medicine or knows a little bit about it, it ended up being inflammation. What? Now let me explain what that means to anybody who doesn't know what medicine is, right? Or hasn't studied and doesn't know what inflammation is. You know when a mosquito bites you and it raises it up? That's called something getting inflamed. Something sparking up, getting bigger than it is. And the surgeon came in the next day and he's like, in 20 years, the same way how he said in 20 years he never saw this before, he came in and he said, in 20 years, I've never seen anybody in my life go from a possible tumor to inflammation. And literally, like, the doctors would keep coming in over and over again and getting more and more information about my case. And it would keep on going back, and they were saying, like, doctors are meeting over and over again, and they're having meetings about my situation. And I'm like, I guess they'll never forget me. Like, if I show up, they're like, hey, it's that guy. But, subhanAllah, like, how did I know that was going to happen? I didn't. I had no idea. But me going in positive, it did more good for me than anything else. It only changed my situation. And the fact that when that happened, I was just bawling my eyes out. I was like, only Allah. It wasn't something I did. It was the dua of my mom, my dad, my siblings, my family, my wife. I had students, teachers, family members at Hajj. This was Hajj time. At Arafah, making dua. And I was like, it's probably not one of them. It's all their du'as. It's everybody's du'as. But if you are going to say, this is me, this is my problem, I'm going to deal with it myself. If you want to be on an island by yourself, okay, that's your choice. But when Allah has put family members there for you, when Allah has put community members there for you, when Allah has put people that you think they slightly care, but when you open up to them and you find out, no, they actually do care. They actually do want to know what you're being hurt by so they can help you through it. We can either say we're going to be on our own and be these rocks of emotion and handle everything ourselves, or we can realize that Allah says, وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. The human being was created weak. Even the word insan comes from two different possible root meanings. One is that they'll constantly forget. They're forgetful. They'll keep making mistakes. The other one is I forgot the word, unusa or uns. It comes from the idea of being friendly, having a sociable nature, that you have to have people around you. You weren't created to live on an island by yourself and function by yourself. You were created to be able to interact, even the introverts. I mean even that. Because the introvert, you tell them, you can live on an island all by yourself and nobody will ever bother you. Not like Castaway style, not like you have to talk to a volleyball, but it's like a luxury, like, you know, a great island. Food is there, everything is there for you. They'll be like, yes, I want to do that. Okay, for a day, 2, a week, a month, say even a year. Say you're a real introvert, all right? Say for a year you'll have fun. You've seen those apocalypse movies. You've seen those zombie movies. You get lonely at the end. You're like, you need other people there, even if it's a little bit of interaction. You need affection. You need companionship, right? That is natural human nature. So for us to say, I'm going to shut the world off, we're denying our nature. And we're saying, I have to deal with this by myself. Allah didn't want you to deal with it by yourself. If He wanted you to deal with it by yourself, you'd be on your island by yourself, enjoying your coconut island and your monkey butlers and whatever else you have over there, mashallah. So I think with that, we'll go ahead and conclude. Let's recite this surah one more time, inshallah. I'll give you the translation first. Wal asri, Allah is saying, I swear by time. Innal insana lafi khusrin. Undoubtedly, man is drowning in loss. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat, except those who do 4 things. What are these 4 things? Number 1, illa alladhina amanu, those who believe, except those who believe. So what's the first condition of not being in loss, drowning in loss? It is to believe. Then it is wa amilu salihat, to do good deeds, to do good actions. Then it is وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, to advise one another, being able to open up to one another, being able to say, I will take someone else's constructive feedback towards the truth, towards patience. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Let's go ahead and recite this and we'll finish it off, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. So I'm going to open the floor up for any questions, inshallah. If you guys have any questions, feel free. Otherwise, you guys are free to go. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa